demo day, blijven staan voor die P. En ik steef een BDP, maar dat doe ik niks meer mee. Demo day, blijven staan voor die P. En ik steef een BDP, maar dat doe ik niks meer mee.
Hi, and welcome to How to Demo the podcast. I'm Laura Peters, and I'm currently doing my final master project at the Faculty of Industrial Design at the Eindhoven University of Technology. With this podcast, I'm gathering and sharing insights on the why, how, and what of the demo day together with staff, students, and alumni of industrial design. If you've got no clue what I'm talking about, I invite you to go check out the very first episode of this podcast series, as it explains everything about my graduation project and gives you a good insight into why the rest of the content of this podcast is the way it is. In today's episode, I'm talking to Naomi and Seiji. They have both finished their Bachelors of Industrial Design last year and have started with their M11 semester. In this episode, we talk about how their experience with the demo day has changed throughout the Bachelor. We reflect on how the different squads, projects, and coaches influence the outcome of your project and also what you present. And what I thought was most interesting were our reflections and sort of discussion about the way that industrial design as a discipline is perceived by the outside world and how that affects us during both the demo day, but maybe also in other parts of our, career. I really love recording this episode because I also got to be a student again instead of being the designer who is interviewing experts for some sort of purpose, and really just have a conversation with fellow students about our experiences at industrial design. I am really doing this project for our students, for you guys, because I want you to have the best possible study experience and also the best possible demo day. So I feel that the insights that I gained through this recording and, everything that Naomi and Seiji told me were very important, and this may have been my most important recording yet. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Naomi and Seiji. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of How to Demo the podcast. I'm joined today by Seiji and Naomi, who are both students at Industrial Design. Welcome guys. Could you maybe introduce yourself?
All right. So I'm Seiji. I am now an M11 student, so I just graduated my bachelor and I'm starting to do my master's here now.
The same for me. I'm Naomi. I also did my bachelor's last semester and now I'm doing my master's too.
Cool, so you've already got some experience in industrial design and you did make the decision to stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's nice, so you will also have to do quite a lot of demo days still.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, then this is the perfect time to discuss this. So the reason I asked you guys to come on the podcast is because the epic intro song for this podcast was created, by you guys. Seiji, you told me that you wrote most of the song. Could you maybe tell me a bit about how it came to be?
Yeah, sure. So Celine, he's into music. He's been making music for a long time, and I also used to make some music. So that was sort of our connection. And then we were just hanging out at his place. He was making some beats, and at some point, I don't remember which lines, but one of the lines, because I was just babbling some rap things, and then it came up, and we're like, damn, we should make a song on, demo day and how ID life is. And we just went for it, and then things popped up in our mind, like prototypes that break, or always being late for printing your stuff, and then we sort of build it, it was just for fun most of the time, and it just things that you recognize were like, oh damn, this is always, everybody has this, and we tried to put it into the song, and
I really felt that because someone showed me the video when I already started making this podcast, and I was like, oh my god, this is exactly the reason why I'm doing this, because of these struggles. Really, really cool.
Thanks.
Let's just get into the demo day straight away. Because the demo day is sort of a thing that costs a lot of time, but it can also be quite cool, I think. Could you maybe share your experience about the demo day, how you've experienced it throughout your bachelor? Maybe you can start it.
Yeah, I think what the demo day felt like before, I don't know, I feel like it changed because I first saw demo day as the moment where I have to show my project and that was it, and that was my last moment to present anything, whereas now I use the demo day to gather, for example, feedback, and I like to talk to people about what I'm doing instead of just telling people what I'm doing. I think it's so much more interesting to talk about your process or what the thing I made or how I made it and how I can still improve it, because I don't know timing wise, but I feel like now the demo day is still maybe 2 weeks before you have to hand in everything, so you can still use that moment. And I like to see the demo day as such a moment instead of this is it and I'm done after that, because it's not. So I think it's very useful, the demo day.
Cool.
I know. I would like it to be like this is the moment and
Yeah.
you're done. But up until like for me, I know I of course you compete sort of, or you compare yourself to other students, and like, you know, we're so proud that we create designers that have different skills here, blah blah blah. But I'm not so good at making a nice prototype. You know, that's the song, it breaks just before the demo day, or yeah, it doesn't even come to life. So sometimes I feel a bit burdened, like, oh damn, I have to stand there on the demo day with my cardboard thingy and, you know, some wires that are flinging out, showing my project off next to a guy that has this like slick ass thing. And yeah, I know, then I always feel sort of an underdog, at least. Yeah. And I think it also depends on where you stand in the demo day, because some spaces are like super busy. I don't know if that's parents or business people or grandmas or whatever, but you know, sometimes I've stood at a place where there's almost no one and you're sort of, you know,
You stand there for no one.
yeah, it feels like you're
kinda
wasting
weird.
your time, so I just end
Yeah.
up walking around and not presenting my project because
There are
So-
always squads that are empty for some reason. You go for a walk and then some places, like I said, are really busy and some are just, there's no one sitting next to their projects. Like, what? Why is there no one? But I guess people want to walk around too. But maybe it's about what we expect to see on the demo day, because I personally expect to see things that look nice. But I also know that not everything is like clear when you see it. Maybe the process was really interesting, or the user test, or maybe there isn't a product, but it's more about how you present that, and that maybe at least I expect to see more of a museum kind of thing, like products that look very nice.
Why do you expect that?
I don't know. That was what I guess I've seen in the past when I walked around the demo day. I saw lots of really cool prototypes that looked very worked out, and maybe through the years, I don't know, went from products to less products. I don't know. Or maybe when I was starting out here, I just saw those things. I didn't look at the other things.
Or
But
maybe when you came here, you had a different perspective
yeah.
on what nice was.
yeah, that could be too.
But you know, of course, those are the most memorable things. You know, I remember there was this guy who made this lamp, and if you put it in a certain position, it changed its light because, I don't know, it was a cool desk light. And then I saw some people of Philips Hue who were talking with the guy. I'm like, damn, you know, those are the most memorable, but those are also the least likely to happen, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I feel-
yeah. You don't necessarily have, you're I guess we don't get necessarily educated in those hard skills to actually make something that looks museum-like, nice, you know.
Because it's called a demo day, so it feels like that's when you have to present your thing, but not everyone, like I am. I'm not good at making something looking very nice.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. That's not my maybe expertise, product design, or I'm more into the whole process, but explaining or demonstrating a process, you can do it, but it's different. You have a poster with interesting stuff on it, but not something you can give to someone or someone can touch or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Similar for research projects, I
Yeah.
suppose, you know.
Yeah.
Then you also don't necessarily end up with a nice thing. You know?
Yeah.
So you said that you would actually like the demo day to be the last thing. Why is that?
For me, there's so much emphasis on the demo days. It's like, oh, demo day is coming up. Like, be prepared for demo day and blah blah blah. But then after the demo day, I do my demo day, and then next week I have to hand in my portfolio, and then next week I have to hand in my report, and then next week I have my final presentation. You know, but I know the emphasis feels so big somehow that's like, oh, I have to prepare for the demo day. And then not even, oh, I have to prepare my showcase and my presentation and my, so the weeks after demo day are still, I feel, stacked with more important deadlines because they're official assessment moments. But I know demo day just sort of soaks up all the attention, and maybe if it would be behind it or combined or whatever, I don't know.
But it used to be more like that, right? I thought that the demo day used to be like an assessment moment, and now I think it kind of isn't, or it kind of is, but it's not an official moment, I thought. I don't know, it's confusing.
Yeah, they always say it's formative assessment, and it's not an official assessment moment, but it is an opportunity to get feedback from from the people who are going to assess you. But I also hear a lot from, at least last demo day, there were a lot of coaches who just weren't even there. And then it's like,
that's really weird.
Okay.
Because you kind of feel like you want to present it also to your coach, because I don't know, it does feel like some sort of an assessment moment because it's called a demo day, so you want to demonstrate all your work. But if your coach isn't even there, I mean, of course you can show it to your parents and other people, but it's weird because then at least I feel very nervous for the demo day, but actually the most important things are after it, like you said, with the presentation and your report. But those things feel, to me, so much less important at that moment, or the days and weeks before the demo day, which I think is weird. But I don't know, I think it depends on which squad you're in and your coaches.
Yeah. But you, Naomi, you also said that you have really changed your perspective on the demo day.
Yeah.
Can you tell a bit about that?
I think until maybe my third year, I don't know, the demo day for me was, because it was also in groups, it was just to stand there, talk to people, and then you split up, and preferably split up like, so you can spend an hour walking around, because I don't know, it was something very stressful and nervous, but also, how do I call this? Never mind, it's early. But at some point I thought it was just useless to stand there and present whatever I'd done that semester. I wanted to get something from the demo day because I have to hand in my report later. So I thought, why not use that moment to get some more information, and that's how I changed. And also because, for example, the midterm demo day, it's also something I used to be very nervous about, because it's like a demo day, but it's halfway. But now I see it as it's just another Friday meeting, but you need to be a little bit more prepared and show your process, and you gotta make some decisions at that moment. And it's still something stressful in a way, but it's useful. I can learn from it. So then it becomes less stressful, more useful, I guess. And that's also how I kind of want to see the demo day, because the real deadlines are after the demo day.
Yeah.
That's how it changed, I think.
And did that also change the way that you present your work?
Yeah, definitely. I now, for example, for my final bachelor project, I prepared as in, I want to get something from the demo day. I need some feedback. I want some impressions. And so I made some sort of business cards, but it wasn't a business card. It was for people to hand out and to get some feedback and to get a conversation started. And my pitch, I also prepared it not to just say what I've done, but also to get some sort of call to action, like what do people think? I did it with my poster. I wanted to attract people, so it was really focused on getting people to my stand and having a conversation with them, and not just getting them to my stand so they can look at it and that's it. So that's how I prepared. It was a bit more preparation, but it was so much more fun and useful to be there, because...
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, how did you experience this, approaching it differently yourself?
To me, at least, it was very much more fun, I think. Instead of just standing there and kind of waiting till it's over. Now I think I had lots of fun conversations. People liked looking at whatever I made. I was focused on getting people to my stand, but I do have to say, for my internship, I was at the Dutch Design Week, so I had to talk to a lot of people, and it was kind of scary, I had to get out of my comfort zone, and now I don't care that much during a demo day. It's really easy, and it's very useful. But it's because of that experience, I think. I feel like some people maybe are a bit scared to just tell someone, hey, do you want to see this? Can I talk to you about this? Or what do you think about this? Just to get something started.
Yeah. Well, I'm that kind of guy,
Yeah.
or at least, because I did my final bachelor project, and it didn't work out at all how I wanted it to be, So I learned a lot, but I didn't have anything that at least I felt was presentable in something similar like a demo day. So, up to demo day, I was already like, oh damn, I have to like show this, but it's like not. It doesn't feel worthy of showing for me. I know I learned a lot, but it's it's like damn. And then it feels like you're just there, standing. But perhaps I should have used a more similar approach like you did. But I don't know, for me it was like, I don't even want to be here because it's not up to the standards I want to.
But I get that though, because I didn't feel comfortable or confident about my product or whatever I made at all. I thought it looked very not final bachelor worthy whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But I could feel stupid about it, but instead I just thought, okay, well, whatever, I'm gonna make the best out of it and try to look the least stupid I can. So I worked it out through my visuals, my poster and the cards, etc. that I had. But my product, it wasn't that impressive, I think. And I didn't feel that way either, but it's like how you approach it that can solve it. Because I also felt like, but I did learn a lot, like you said, but what's the point of showing what I learned? And you can see from my final bachelor project, at least that's how I feel, that I learned so much. I'm still a student, so I learn, and what do I have to show? My learning or my thing that I made, and that's maybe the thing that's confusing sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your deliverables and what you've actually learned and how much you've grown as a person and your vision and your identity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't see that.
I think that, I can totally relate to everything you say, of course. What I've gathered sort of from the previous podcast recordings is that there is of course a real emphasis on the demo day because you get to use it as you already described, but also because a lot of externals are coming in, so it is really a profiling moment. Mm-hmm. But all the stuff you learned and the vision and identity stuff and all that, I think that's more meant for the report and the assessment. Mm-hmm. So I really get the feeling, I can also really just drop that, and if people ask me about it, I can tell them because I did it. Yeah. But then at the demo day, I can just do whatever I want to make my project even more epic.
Yeah.
So Seiji, if looking back at your final bachelor demo day, is there anything that you've maybe done different in presenting it? If you would have a more focused approach, maybe?
I think I would have focused more on the concept that, and like my idea embodies, instead of trying to make it a actual product. But but that's in my process. I spent a lot of time in trying to make it an actual prototype because it was something I wanted to achieve. Mm-hmm. I've never done it before, but it didn't really work out. So I think if I would have focused a bit more on showing the concept behind it and what it means and what it could be, I think that would have been way more interesting. But you also mentioned that there's external people coming. For me, at least, it's very unclear who is an external person and who is a grandma or someone's mom who's just interested. So I don't know.
Does that really matter, actually?
For me, it is. I would shape up a bit more if I knew, not even for myself, but for like the faculty. Mm-hmm. They're like, this is, I know, the mayor or whatever, or someone they really want to like impress, versus the mom of the guy I've been working with the whole project. I would approach it differently. Maybe that's not how they would like it, but in reality, that's probably how I would be. Yeah.
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 So you mentioned that you had like this goal in your final bachelor project to really make a prototype, but that didn't really work out. Mm-hmm. How's that going to inform your masters? Or does it?
Well, I know I want to move a bit more towards UI, UX design-ish, and I just know I'm not going to be the guy that is doing the final steps. So I purposely want to focus a bit more on just as I did in my project, like how should you interact with it? What's the experience of it? What's the story? And I would like to focus on that part and sort of leave the prototyping stuff to someone that knows what he's doing. I would still like to learn like some stuff about 3D printing and make it very simple, just so it's a bit more experienceable, but not necessarily be like, I want to present something that's slick and fully functional, because that's just not. I'm not that designer, which took me quite some time to figure out, I guess.
But you did.
Yeah, I did now. So hopefully my master's is going to be a bit more smooth sailing, but we'll see.
And what led you to figuring that out?
It started with some interesting courses that sort of sparked my interest. Like, all right, I start to get what, because design is like huge. Design is something that's almost unlimited. And then you come here as a first year and you're like, what's your identity and vision? You're like,
what is identity?
Yeah, exactly. And then, I had some courses that I thought were very interesting. And then I could do an internship here at the university with a professor. And that was also very interesting and sort of in the same line. And then after that, I had my final batch project also sort of in the same direction. And I felt like, okay, this is where I want to go. And then the project, the making it didn't work out at all. So I was like, okay, just focus on the things I'm good at and I like to do, instead of also trying to force in that other stuff that I don't really like. So I know it was that string that sort of built up in the end. But it was only after like the half of my second year that I got that sort of breakthrough. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's move on to another question that I have for you guys, because you already mentioned it's like, okay, well, you have to make like this really nice presentation and like the epically slick products, and something that a lot of people always reference is like the Design Academy. So what do you guys actually think is expected of a demo day presentation?
For me, it's super unclear, but I think that's for the whole education. Because things are sort of very much, at least for me, depends on your coach and your coaching, what direction your project is going to be. Because, for example, in the squad that I had, there was a coach that was way more focused on technical aspects, and there were students that were very good at it. So their whole project sort of automatically tailored into that. But if you have another coach that's on a more conceptual level or systematic level, then your approach is going to go in that direction. But the brief for the demo day is still the same for everyone. So, yeah, you have to sort of figure out how you fit into that brief. At least that's how I feel.
And maybe there isn't just one answer to it.
Yeah.
Because some people, like you say, have products more and others more conceptual. And at least, maybe, I don't know, whenever I talk to people who aren't from the TUE at all or from industrial design about what I do, they expect products and good-looking products. Like, oh, you're from Eindhoven, you make beautiful products, right? Like, don't you think maybe that's Design Academy, or I don't know, maybe it's not us, I'm not sure. But because of that, I feel like, I don't know, showing that kind of stuff as well. But you can't always, and like you say, it depends on your coach and it depends on your squad. And it's also very different per squad. I don't know if there's one thing that the presentation of the demo day should be like. But, for example, last year we had those poster boards and all those things that were offered. I think that was nice, but even then every squad handled that differently. My squad had a template which I think looked very nice and coherent and all the stuff. Some squads had nothing like that at all, so he had different kinds of things, and that was just, for me, too much. But in that way I would say maybe let's all be more uniform with our looks, and then it doesn't matter what you show if you just show it and it looks, I don't know.
I think it's interesting what you said about people who are not from the university expecting you to have products, and therefore you also
I feel like I have
feel
to do
like
that.
you have to do that. Well, you say that you actually had a much more valuable demo day experience when you did something else. Yeah,
and also people, I don't know why, maybe just the people I talked to about this, but they really didn't understand industrial design, and especially when they compare it to to Delft. They think we, I don't know, make very weird or maybe basic things, and in Delft they make really good stuff. And then I explained to them, well, we also think of like the whole system behind it and more conceptual, and we use electronics to make it work, and nobody understands that or something. So I feel like at first I have to prove myself, and then I think if I have to prove myself with a concept, how am I gonna do that with just a story? I feel like if I need to explain to people what we do here, I need to have something to show, and that's not what I like to do. I don't like to do the final steps, like you said. I'm more into the conceptual part, but it's confusing and frustrating when people compare us to anything else, especially Delft, because it's a different study.
Yeah.
It's not better or worse. I have no issues with that at all, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And it, I don't know, it makes me feel a bit insecure sometimes. Like, what am I doing here? And what's good and what's bad?
Yeah.
And does it matter? Because now we get grades and we usually get feedback, and now I feel like I have to do more to get to something instead of do something to learn more and grow as a designer or something. I don't know. It's
But
just so confusing.
I think those, like, the perspective of people are sort of outside outsiders.
Yeah.
It's fueled by I know general media,
Yeah.
other stuffs, and you know if you Google design and you do an image search, you'll always see some slick concept car and not an Arduino with an LED on it, right?
Yeah.
And then the label of industrial design. I know people might have expectations that we, or for example, make sure that something is workable because we prepare designs for the industry, or we get those hard skills as Delft has. So I know I don't even explain it like I'm doing industrial design. I just say that, well, I sit in Eindhoven and I'm sort of becoming, you know, Willy Wortel from Donald Duck, and that's the, I don't know, for me the clearest explanation I have for people. And they're like, okay. I say, I just try to invent some interesting new stuff that can improve the world or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those images are very much fueled by the world.
Yeah.
And or like what design means in the media, which is not at all what we're doing here, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's actually exactly the reason why I'm doing this project.
Yeah.
Because I feel that the demo day, it is a moment that we actually have the opportunity to show that we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Well, there are people who are doing that here as well, but there's maybe like 10% of the students who create like this finished product, because that's their expertise.
Yeah.
But then you also have like the user feedback gathering expertises, or you have the conceptual expertises, and you have people who have like crazy coding skills. And I think that it's really important that we get to showcase that.
Yeah.
So also referring back to your statement of that it was nice that we had sort of a coherent thing. Would you guys maybe be up for doing sort of a brainstorm on the podcast of how we could maybe create more space?
I already had some stuff in mind, so
for showing that we're the crazy Willy Wortel people.
Yeah.
Well, if you already have some stuff.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I was thinking like, you know, we have these expertise areas and different type of projects. You know, why not instead of organizing them on squad, organize them on style? You know, all the people that do something with 3D printing, like gather them in this 3D printing corner. Everybody that's doing something with like conceptual stuff, go there. If you're doing data and coding, you know, make those areas. And then you also stand among people that are doing or have a similar final type of display. It's a product, it's a system, it's a concept, whatever. But that might help you feel a bit more confident. You're like, all right, there's, you know, I'm in this group that we're the concept people. And then, you know, you have to think of how do you present that. But that might be interesting instead of doing it on squad.
Yeah.
Because even in squads, there are like completely different directions you can go to, like healthcare or not, or mobility. Even if you're not in a mobility squad, you can do something for it. So yeah, that might be interesting.
It sounds good to me. I didn't think of that before. But if I imagine it, I think if you have that kind of categorization, everyone who visits the demo day, like parents and all the serious people, I think their expectations are also different once they know, oh, I'm going to a part with more conceptual ideas instead of I'm going to Vitality, for example. Because you get, like you said, every kind of thing, more product, more system, more coding and all that stuff. And I think it might also be interesting to be surrounded by people who do, for example, lots of coding, like you do, for example, to compare, but in a good way, to see what other things you can do with coding, for example, or programming. You know, I think that's also, like, you can learn from others in that way, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
Do you guys then think that the context of your project isn't that relevant, actually? Because you actually because now we are organized in the squads based on certain context to design for. But there's literally like maybe 4 people I can mention who are like really dedicated. I'm designing for this, you know.
Yeah.
And the rest is all like, I sort of do this.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the topics are pretty inspired by research on through whatever design. For example, the Crick Squad and peripheral interaction. Vitality is a bit more directed. Well, some are more directed, some are very open. But for example, I did a Cricks project, and we had people doing lots of different things, and they're all connected to Cricks. But if you would see them together, you're not like, this is, it's not as clear as, for example, you do healthcare, and then you put everybody who did healthcare in the same area, because that can be, throughout every squad almost. So I don't think it's necessarily you need to bind it to squads, because some squads aren't that clear, I guess, for the public even. Because if you say like, this is the rich interaction area.
What is that?
Exactly. I first need like half an hour, 15 minutes to explain you what it is, and then you might see the connections.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say, this is the concept area, I'm like, all right, so this is where, futuristic ideas that are, you know what you're, I don't know. I guess you might know a bit more what you expect, but also I know what's going around here, so I might be biased. But
yeah,
and I think it might also be, I don't know, difficult to put a certain project into something else than a squad, because
true.
if I'm thinking about my own final design project, I have no idea where I would put it, because I feel like it's not really part of anything. So I did a bit of everything, but a bit of nothing of everything too. So I don't know where to put it.
But if you would have to give it a label that you could think of yourself somewhere, also within the ideas that we just discussed, how would you like to describe your project?
I think it's about, in a way, connectivity, because it was about having 2 products and 2 homes, and they are connected, but they also have a meaning to the people who are in that way connected to that thing. So it's connectivity between the 2, let's say, devices, and then their connectivity to their users, and their users being connected to each other. But I think I worked a lot on how they communicate to each other and what the meaning is of this connection or something. So I don't know how would you call that? User and society, and then
it's difficult. It's sort of meaningful human-computer interaction, but explain that to the outside public.
And I think there are lots of then different kinds of little names you can give to all those projects. And I'm not sure if you can put them all together. But I do think it's very interesting, and maybe also to think about what your value or your meaning is of your project. Let's say not product but project. Maybe it helps.
Yeah. But those topics don't necessarily have to be so narrow that it's
true.
You could say these are all about, or I would categorize them more on what type of deliverable you are getting, because even though your topic or whatever could be very different, you still could have a similar level of prototyping, right? I have something that's conceptual with some Arduinos and it's more about the story, or I have something that's almost finished, or I have a layout of how a certain system works without being able to even build it.
Yeah, so maybe related to sort of different parts of the design process.
For example.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and then you have similar presentations in a similar type of presentations in a similar area. So if you're looking for, I don't know, products that I'm just envisioning now some business guy who wants to look if you can invest something. He's like, all right, I'll go to the area which is more about final stuff that's almost finished. And if I am a researcher or whatever, I would go to an area where all research projects are presented, for example. But this needs way more thought than we can do here now, I guess. But
It's really funny how you describe it, because I see a really clear resemblance to what they're trying to do with the tracks in the master, at least. I think that this is sort of where they're going. I'm also thinking of organizing the graduate space for the demo day on the different tracks, because I think that would create much more clarity for the people visiting. And also if you can say like, okay, so here are all the people that have been working on their own business, they want your money,
exactly,
go to them,
yeah.
And these are the people who've been doing research, they want a PhD position. That could help a lot, I think. But downstairs for the bachelor is much more
vague.
difficult because you have all the different semesters going through each other, and then there's a group project and a research project and a final bachelor project and an internship, and it's like, oh my god, what's happening?
I can also imagine that all these years have a different goal for the demo day. If you're like, it's your first project, you're just getting used to what is a demo day, etc. But if you're a final bachelor who is, you know, not interested in doing your masters, then you're like, damn, maybe I can hook a job here or whatever, you know. So those there's also very much mixed interests in those demo days, I suppose.
Yeah, because it's really also an opportunity for learning something, and I think that based on your experience, that learning goal could be really different.
Yeah.
But now we sort of have to figure that out ourselves.
Yeah.
Is there something that you guys can think the faculty can do to sort of help us a bit more with that, or at least for people to sort of gain these insights a bit more of how they could use it? Or is it okay that we have to think of it ourselves?
I think that's difficult. And on the one hand, I'm like, it's okay to figure it out yourself. But I don't know. I would also like to have it a bit more, give it a bit more direction. Maybe if you're like in your first year, you're doing your first project, I don't know, they give you some sort of typical layouts for how something is presented for a certain type of deliverable, and then in your later years you can sort of start to play with that and see what fits you best. But if they're like, you know, here's a template for it, how you do a research project, how do you present that? If you do something conceptual, how do you present that? If you have a product, how do you present that? If you have a business model, how do you present that? And then if you're a bit, you know, if you're in your second or third year, you can sort of try to figure out what is best for your project, because then probably your project's not so defined as. But,
it makes me think of, because Lucid now has on their website for the graphics, sort of like the beginner and the intermediate and the advanced template for posters and everything for promo. And it was like, wow, this is super nice. A bit in that direction.
Yeah, for example. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Well, in a way, because I made those in all those levels, and 2
Nice.
years.
Applause.
I made that with Oscar and Luc and Otis, and we did that because we wanted people to have obviously options, but also we kind of felt like some posters didn't get that much time, so why not just offer them a poster that's already kind of put into a direction so it looks good, but you can spend a little less time on it and maybe more time on organizing the party. But now 2 years later, no shade to the boards that have been there after me, but I downloaded, for example, the beginner and I got the intermediate, or they're all kind of the same. And I don't feel like I don't see them. I don't see the levels of posters being used at all. So I think it was a fun idea, and it was nice for the board that used it after us, but I don't think it's being used. But having them available, every kind of template all together, and now it's just for Facebook and I don't know, all the poster and everything. I think that's nice to have them together, and so you can think of yourself, what do I need, and with the explanation how it works.
Yeah, I really liked it because I hadn't done like anything with promo for Lucid in a few years.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this would have been so great during my day, because there was all this messing around with the promo committee, and there was always communication issues, and I was like, I can just do this if I want to. But so I thought it was really great.
Well, thank you. I think having it available for people, I mean, if they want to go and make the poster in Photoshop or in any way they want, and it's not through using the website, that's fine. But what I wanted to do was having it available and having it just explained, like the basics, and whatever you do with it, you can do with it whatever you want. But for example, during the last demo day, we knew that we were getting supplies, but my squad had like these templates, some squads didn't have it. It was very confusing, and then you get these templates sent it to you, but they were from last year. I think that needs to be sorted out. And maybe we could categorize it per, this is a research project poster, this is for you want to present a business, but you don't have to stick to those. And if you have an empty one, but still with the looks of every other poster, I think that would be very nice.
Or so maybe just give some pointers for if you're presenting research, then these might be important things to focus on. Or if you're presenting your final bachelor project, be sure to highlight what it is that makes your project unique to you.
Exactly.
Something like that.
And then make it explicit. Because I think a lot of information on industrial design on the faculty, it's there, but it's very implicit, or it's somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, you have to find it in the study guide.
Oh yeah.
But just make stuff explicit, clear, like, yo, go here and you find your templates and all the information you need for,
Yeah.
you know, setting that up.
But how does making it explicit relate to sort of not having to use it? Because, well, last semester I tried to make a framework explaining the different outcomes a design process could have. That really helped people sort of to figure out, like, okay, so these are the most important things of my project, so what I should focus on in my presentation. But it's the difficult thing is that people want to have it more explicit, but when you make it more explicit and define, like, okay, so if you have if you want to present user context, you can use a video, you can do this or you can do this, like, it's so specific that it sort of just creates more discussion where it's not really useful in a way, because, like, yeah, I wouldn't present it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, making it explicit is something else than making it a rule, right? Just by making it explicitly available, you're like, okay, if you have a clear idea of what you want to do, how you want to present it, then go ahead, use the font that is set out for the demo day, and you're fine. But if you are bit in the dark about what you want to do or how you want to do it, then that explicitness might help. But for example, during this project, I had a coach meeting, and it was the first time I got this question asked to me. He said, what is it you want to prove or show with your prototype? What is it that I want to, prove that works? Is it the interaction? Is it the effect that it has? Is it the, and that, even just that explicit question to me was like, oh, it helped me think of, okay, what do I want to build? And why do I want to build it? Yeah. So, yeah, I know it was just by even that the question was asked, it helped me into thinking about where or what I wanted to go. So perhaps if you're in the dark, it helps if you have that explicit information. But if you already know what you want to do, then that's fine, because you already know what you want to do, right?
Yeah, you're not going to get into it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Just use the font that is and the type size or whatever to have that uniformity. But if you have a great idea, just do it. If you don't, then this might help.
Yeah, sounds like some sort of guidelines for what you can think of to put on your poster. So you can think of, okay, what's your value of your thing, or what do you want to prove? You could put it on your poster. It could be helpful, but you don't have to, because I think through years people will figure out what they're good at and what they like.
Yeah, and maybe you're also the graphic person.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then you need to be able to show that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so during this podcast, I've been talking to a lot of staff members, and they have a lot of these interesting advices or like good questions, or I've also asked them how they would present their work at the demo day. Do you think that just having the podcast is already enough sort of to have these questions available, or these perspectives, or is there something more that I could do with this content to make it approachable for students to use for the demo day?
Will this be available for students to listen to?
Yeah, it's just online everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think just having this podcast probably already helps raising the questions. But for example, if you ask people how do they present their work, it's probably very visual. And you can say, well, I would put, I would pick a poster that's this big, and then on the bottom I would put this, and then in the center I don't know, of course, what they answered.
It's quite visual for most.
Yeah. So I can imagine that it might be convenient to have stuff that is explained for something visual, to have it visual, so it's easier to grasp. Yeah, but I think it's valuable to have these discussions for sure, and maybe if there are very clear topics or ideas that sort of all parties agree on, then see if you can work them out, or have some upset of like, okay, we can go this direction.
Yeah, I think it's the difficult thing is how to approach the students, because it is a big group, because it is a diverse group, but everyone does sort of seem to have the same issue in a way. So there is this commonality that can be addressed, but difficult to figure out how to do that.
Yeah. You have to use different channels for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, because there are people that are involved in the study association, but there's also sometimes I walk around and like, hey, I've never seen you before, and then someone's like, yeah, that's a third year bachelor. I'm like, what? So you will have to use different channels to reach all students.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering. So you're doing all the podcasts, and people can listen to it. What do you hope to achieve with this?
Well, basically just start the conversation. That's the real point of it, just to make it visible that there's actually something going on here, and that there's also an opportunity to change things.
Yeah.
And just to take away some of the insecurities that you guys have beautifully explained. Yeah, so that's the starting point, and then we're also organizing meetups after the podcast, so we can actually talk about, okay, so how is this going to translate to the demo day, and then we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
But I also think it's nice because these will be online forever, so people will always be able to go back to this, and I have podcasts really focused on research and really focused on business, and that can sort of inform people how to approach their demo day, I think, but also the projects.
Yeah, nice. I think those meetups are a perfect way to sort of co-create the next level demo day. Yeah.
Next level demo day. I might just use that.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So maybe to start rounding off the conversation, could you maybe tell me something about the projects that you are doing now, and if anything would be possible, how you would like to present it at the demo day, and just work from where you're now or where you think it's going to go?
All right, so I am working on, it's not very defined yet, but some sharing music thing, or something that helps you inform if you disturb other people with your music or your loudness or whatever. Preferably, I would just have something that works. I prefer the disturbance concept, so I'll go with that. But something that can actually measure sound and display how noisy you are and how if you affect other people, yes or no. And how, I'm not sure. I would do a video because I'm more skilled at that, I think. And some perhaps cardboard model, something like that, maybe 3D print it. But I don't expect it to work.
What do you want to show there? Do you want to show the disturbance levels or what?
Yeah, it's the same question I got asked. I'm not sure yet. I have to consider what I want to sort of present. Ultimately, I always want to present a final thing that works, that's nice, but I'm not yet sure how this project will go, so I'm not yet sure what I want to present. We still have to consider it.
Yeah.
I think the same for me. We are looking at facilitating decision-making right now in a food court, where to eat, what to eat, and I have no idea what we're going to end up with. If it's going to be a thing or a system or a plan, I have no idea. But if I envision it, because I'm in the Students Interaction Squad, I hope that during the demo day we can present something that people can experience, like for a second, that they have to make this decision and we have our whatever we have, and they can imagine like, oh yeah, this would really be nice or not nice at all, and they can tell us why, for example. But yeah.
So you really want to go back to creating something that people can actually experience.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe through the demo day I want people to kind of experience whatever I make, but not everyone can experience everything because not everything is made for everyone. But I think that would be nice because I feel like that's the way to get a good conversation instead of this is what I made and you cannot relate to it whatsoever, which is fine. Some products have that if it's for medical stuff, but in my case, me being a designer, blah blah, I want people to, they come here to a demo day and I want them to have some sort of experience and be like, oh yeah, that's interesting, at least.
I just have one last reaction on, because you mentioned like we don't know yet where we end up. I think that's sort of also the struggle of the demo day, that you just figured out what you want to do, you did it for like a month or so, and then you also have to present it, which is you're still halfway your design process sometimes, I feel. So it's that, I don't know. I always feel like I'm in the middle of designing and then I have to present it. Because it takes some time to figure out where you want to go.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe one last fun question that I just thought of. If you would now go back to have to give advice to your first year bachelor self doing its first demo day.
Oh my god.
Because I remember that my first demo day was actually a lot of fun. We had the ugliest posters in the world and we had a prototype that wasn't really working, but we had so much fun just making everything, and that was fun.
I think that's the best advice, to just have fun with it, because ultimately you're just here to learn, right? So just that's a perfect advice. Just have fun, try to learn stuff, try to experiment, see what works, and don't take it too harsh. I think that's...
No, I agree with that. I actually talked about my first project yesterday with my friend with whom I did my first project, and we really laughed about like, oh my god, our project, when we presented it, one of the coaches was like, this already exists. You know, we spent this entire semester on something and no one could tell us, hey, what you made, it already exists. So we felt really stupid as first years, but we did have a lot of fun, and I agree. I think whenever you're in a project and you're not having fun, I think there's something wrong. Because we're at school, and I think we feel like we need to learn all the time, and I think it can be fun too.
Well, I think that's a beautiful way to finish our conversation. Thank you guys so much for being so open and sharing all your struggles and ideas. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again so much to Naomi and Seiji for joining me for this episode of How to Demo. So, did our conversation get you thinking or get you excited, or maybe you have some questions or some epic ideas for improving the demo day? I would love to hear from you in all of these cases. You can contact me via Facebook or Instagram at Laura Peters, send an email to info@laurapeters.com, or just come say hi in the graduation space. Talking about the graduate space, upcoming Friday, we're organizing Feedback Friday. So if you're interested to see what we're doing in the graduate space, what our projects are about, or the things that basically what we're working on, just come by and say hello and give us some feedback, because we really want to know what you think of our work. How to Demo is a Studio Het is Ik production made possible by lots of awesome people in industrial design. A special shout out to the Kid Salim, Beaks and Lil Showcase for letting me use their song Demo Day as soundtrack for the podcast. And thank you most of all, my epic listeners. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll meet you hopefully at Feedback Friday and otherwise in the next episode of How to Demo.